Hi Lenny, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to me today.
No problem, Marlene. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so if you want to just introduce yourself first of all to my audience.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Michael John Lennon. I own Hybrid Fitness and Elite Fitness and Performance Academy in Belfast. And I'm very privileged that Marlene has got me on here to talk to her crew.
Great, thank you very much. So we're going to talk about mobility and mindset. I thought that would be a good topic because most of my wee mummies are around about the same age as me and getting a wee bit older. And it's certain mobility is a massive one as you get older. You start to lose it a wee bit more, and then having a good mindset is also a good thing and positive for everybody. So I will leave it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see where to start with this. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we'll go into first, right? Because a lot of people kind of misinterpret mobility, right? So let's get the definition of mobility out there first. A lot of people will see it as like, just doing bog standard stretches, or maybe some foam rolling, getting resistance bands out, so on and so forth. And you'll probably see people will revert to yoga and whatever else. And again, I'm not hitting out at any of those things. They are useful tools, all of them. But as far as the actual definition of mobility goes, some of them don't quite meet the criteria. Right. So what I mean by that is, and this is always a way that I'll kind of teach people what mobility is, or at least what it should be. Right. So if you can imagine an Olympic gymnast hanging from the rings in midair, and he or she is doing the splits in midair, right? That's mobility, right? That's actually functional mobility. Whereas if you imagine someone doing the splits on the floor, that would be flexibility. That's not actual mobility, because what we're using is a passive assistance, right? So what that person is using is something to help them do the splits. Versus the person who's hanging in midair doing the splits, well, that's active. So that's the difference between mobility and flexibility. And a lot of the time it can be misconstrued by people who are like, oh, I'm working on my mobility today. And it's like, no, you're not. Like if you, and the thing is as well, people might say, oh, I'm warming up, I'm doing mobility to warm up. And it's like, if you think mobility is a warm up, then you're very much mistaken. And you found that out a few weeks ago, Marlene, didn't you? Whenever you found out one of my chest classes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the first thing that people kind of need to get clear on, is that flexibility in itself is useless. It really is. I remember I actually had a client. She was Chinese. And she was really, really flexible. Her name is Yan Yan. She was really flexible, but she had zero mobility, as in like she had zero strength. So if you think about mobility as flexibility plus strength, she could do the splits, but literally she like couldn't lift her leg like over 2 feet in the air. It was crazy. It was pointless. It was practically pointless. It looks good when she's in the splits.
Yeah.
But as far as any practical application, nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I suppose that's the first thing to get across when it comes to mobility.
Yeah. Okay. Just to clear that up. Because I would say that too. Even I got confused between mobility and flexibility a lot, because until I went to your class and I was like, holy shit, this is tough going. And I thought I had a wee bit of strength and flexibility and mobility, but until you're actually put through set routine and exercises, and then you realize, no, you really don't. So why is it important as well? Why is it important in everyday life to have good mobility?
So glad you asked that question. So glad you asked it. Well, if you think about it, right? So I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to evolutionary biology, right? As in, like, how we evolved as a species. And again, you know, some people disagree with me on this here, right? Which is cool. You know, I just look at things as based on credible science. You know, I actually had one guy who was quite, you know, religious and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily, but he was like, no, I don't believe in evolution. I believe in creation. And I'm like, fair enough. I'm not here to challenge your beliefs or anything like that. I'm only here to give you an objective view on things, subjective to him, like whatever. But you know, for the most part, I kind of look at our evolutionary biology, and you have to ask yourself the question: what were we naturally selected to do? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's the first question that you have to ask. Okay. We certainly weren't naturally selected to sit behind a desk for 10 hours a day, just like me and you doing right now. Right. We weren't naturally selected to sit down for 10 hours a day and spinal flexion like this and sit in hip flexion. That's not what we were supposed to do. We weren't naturally selected to sit in chairs, cars, nothing like that whatsoever, right? We were naturally selected to hunt and gather, as in for 230,000 years, our days probably looked like, you know, we wakened up in the morning, we were hungry, we searched for food, foraged, climbed trees, ran after some fucking wild boar, ran away from fucking some what do you call them, saber-toothed tiger, climbed a little bit more, probably swam, danced, got the leg over, ate a little bit more.
All sounds good, but sounds like hard work most of it there too.
Well, I mean, this is it. It's a lot of hard work, right? But essentially, that is the days that we were naturally selected for, and it made, if we look at in the grand scheme of things, right, as in, like, you know, how our species had populated this planet for the first 240,000 years. That was it. Mm-hmm. Only in the last 10,000 years did we start then doing some, you know, manual labor, as in like agriculture, and only in the last 100 years did we become really lazy bastards and just start, you know, we started working in factories, and that was it. You know, that was it for us. But most people I would say that our daily living is not normal human behavior.
No.
It's not.
No.
Like, even though we think, you know, behave like a normal person, if you think about it, our species, Homo sapien, we're not behaving like normal people, right? So I think that's the first question that we have to ask is, what were we naturally selected to do, which was hunt and gather, right? So that's the first reason why it's important to move. Mm-hmm. You know, people talk about, oh, your posture and this and that and this type of alignment and whatever. In reality, there is no perfect posture. There is no perfect skeletal structure. The perfect posture is a moving posture, and the perfect skeleton is a moving skeleton. Mm-hmm. Like, we weren't put here to be still.
No.
Yet all people deem it as normal. You know, we send our kids to school to sit there for 10 hours a day, sit there, don't move, take orders. Mm-hmm. And if, you know, one child or whatever is seen to be climbing walls or moving unnecessarily in their chair, they're told to sit still.
Yeah.
And for me, that just doesn't.
It's a punishment they're given. Yeah.
Yeah, I like, for me, that's, you know, and I suppose that's the first reason why mobility is important. Mm-hmm. At least for me anyway. And then the next question that I think people have to ask themselves is, if movement is normal human behavior, mm-hmm. right? Then the second question is, well, what am I doing currently? Mm-hmm. Right? And then the next question is, what am I doing to make up for the fact that I'm not behaving like a normal human being?
Mhm.
Right? And most people are generally doing nothing except, you know, some people invest in a coach like you. Some people are like, right, you know, I gotta move, and they're usually the smart ones.
Of course you are.
Of course we are. We're usually the smart ones. So yeah, that's kind of the way I think about it. Always in those terms. And yeah, I think it's the further we get away from nature, the more we have a tendency to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Sorry for my curtain, by the way.
No, and that's fine. I love it. So move. This is the thing. We need to move. So for those people that are going, well, I do move. You know, I go for walks or whatever it might be. It's like, well, how is that helping your mobility? And, you know, how can you progress on that? Or what are the extra things we can do to help?
Sweet. Love it. Love that question. So the thing about it is, right, again, people might see me doing shit and go, you know, there's no way I can move that way, or whatever it is. And, you know, I get that, right? But so the thing about it is, right, and I always say to people, listen, any movement's improvement. If a walk right now is where your capabilities lie, then again, so be it, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't stop your acquisition of greater mobility or greater strength, right? So you can always, you know, in terms of like our biology, like we can always acquire more range of motion. I'm sure people have heard that term before. We can always get more, right? Within a certain reason, right? Now, the thing about that is, there's our Lenny back, there's my dog back. The thing about that is, right, is that we then try to make up for the fact that we don't behave like normal humans by going to the gym or possibly going and playing a sport. Right, so those are usually the two things that we will revert to, right? Now the thing about that is let's say sport, for example, okay, which is again amazing, great for the heart, great for the lungs, depending on what you're doing. But let's say you are playing. Did you have a sporting background, Marlene?
Not really, no.
Well, you were a runner, weren't you?
Yes, still do run. Yes, still do run.
You still run, right? So let's use the running example, okay? Let's use the running example.
Anything bad about running now?
I'm not saying anything bad, right? I'm just using it. I'm just using this as an example, okay? So even running, even though it you know what we actually done when we were hunting and gathering was we would have ran for really long periods of time.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a good thing in my book because it's good to be aerobic, right? But at the same time, if you think about it, let's say someone is limited in terms of, you know, how much hip flexion they've got. Let me just, my dog is eating a block of butter. so I'm gonna have to move this out of his way. Jeez. Yeah, he's just eating a full block of butter. You see, dogs are doing what they're naturally selected to do. Dogs are just looking for food. They're just searching for everything. Anyway, yes. So let's say we take up running, right? And let's say someone already has poor or shitty joints.
Yeah.
Right. And that person's response to you know, fat loss or getting in shape or whatever is, I know I'll run, I'll just expend energy. Yeah. Which, yes, you will lose weight, absolutely. If you're expending enough energy and you're consuming less than you expend. But at the same time, you know, what happens is when we start with endurance and we're adding that on top of you know, dysfunctional movement. We'll call it dysfunctional. I'm not calling everyone dysfunctional on here, but that's what we call it, right? But if we add endurance on top of, you know, poor joint health, dysfunctional movement, whatever you want to call it, well, then that usually results in something, you know, your endurance just wearing down your joints. You know, for example, it's quite common with runners, and especially like ex-military guys and girls who I've worked with in the past as well, to have hip replacements.
Right. Okay.
Right. Really, really common, which I've experienced a lot. You know, we have a lot of students coming through the academy.
Yeah.
A lot of them would be ex-military and stuff, and you know, they would have a rucksack on their back, and they're told to run up and down the hill for, you know, X amount of hours.
Yeah.
What happens is, let's say they don't have, and I'm gonna say capsular space, right? So if we think about what that is, it is the space between two joints, right? It's how one bone moves relative to the next. So let's say this is my hip capsule here, right? So this is the capsule, and let's say it's like this, right? So let's say there's really limited motion here. So what I'm having to do is kind of crank it out like this here. So what basically happens is, if I add endurance on top of my shitty range of motion, okay, what I'm gonna see is, over time, it just gets worn down, right? And then eventually you'll actually see people who will have the head of the femur actually shaved away in order to create space in the joint. And that's what surgeons generally do. They'll just remove a mechanical fault, and they'll just be like, oh, that's it, removed, away you go. Here's a wee replacement in there, we're good to go. Which you know, it's our approach, it's our futuristic approach to something that's probably happened for, you know, forever. But you know, that's basically what happens. And what we want to think about is, you know, how much capsular space can I get? And that can't necessarily be done simply just by going for a run, right? Now, again, I love running, but only if you do have the existing prerequisites, as in, do I have enough capsular space to add endurance to this? You know, do I have enough control over my body to allow me and to facilitate me going and running? If that's the case, you knock yourself out, you can run forever. But if you don't have those prerequisites and you go and you try to add endurance on top of dysfunction, you're only going to make that dysfunction worse. So yeah, and then again, I think about it in terms of, again, what were we naturally selected to do? Sure, we would have chased down prey for an hour, maybe 2 hours. We would have worn it down, and that's the big thing that we have at our advantage. Like, Homo sapiens, pound for pound, are the best runners in all the animal kingdom. That's how we can outrun anything, outpace anything, and that's why we became, you know, the top of the food chain. So yes, we should be running, but we should also be sprinting, climbing, pulling, pushing, carrying.
Yeah, all of it.
You know, all of it, because and again, you know, let's go to my so we talked about running. Let's say sport, okay, because running is it's just linear, right? It's just same motion all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say we take a sport, for example. Let's say I always use the example of, like, let's say a baseball pitcher, or some people may be more familiar with like a javelin thrower.
Okay.
Right. So those two individuals, right, they'll train the same lines of tissue over and over again, right? Over and over again. Now, there's nothing to say that when we evolved as a species that we didn't throw things. We did. We just didn't throw it for 50 million repetitions at one time, through the same pattern, same joints being exposed to you know, certain levels of stress. Like, we just didn't do that.
Yeah.
You would have ran, sprinted, crawled, carried, threw, jogged. You know, there was multiple things going on. which again sort of brings me back to the point is, for me, and just to kind of bring this all back, for me, the number one thing that you can do is, yes, move, but again, challenge the boundaries in different patterns, in different positions, challenge different joint actions all the time, train different lines of tissue. You know, there should be no real, as in one single approach to fat loss, right? It may be walking, you know, for some people. So let's say what this looks like, right? It may be you get up first thing in the morning and you just start making circles with all your joints, right? So then it might be circles with all your joints, and you're kind of just doing circles here, you know, some axial rotations, and then you're kind of doing circles here, right? And you start moving your spine. We call those cars. So that may be the first thing you do in the morning. You go down, have your breakfast, you walk to work. Instead of sitting at a desk all day, you'll get down into like a half kneeling position, so just like a static lunge with your knee on the floor. You'll do some writing or whatever it is, take some calls in that position. You'll maybe get up and down, squat here and there, whatever. People may think you're weird, but again, I think it's weird that you're sitting down at a fucking desk all day, not moving, not doing normal human behavior. And you know, that may be it. And then you go to the gym, you do some, you know, various forms of cardio. And I'm not talking about HIIT or anything like that. I'm just saying you move in different ways. You go home, you do another little 5 minutes of movement, and then boom, that's your day. So I think just to sum all that up and kind of
you could fit
compartmentalize it for people is, yes, move more, move often, challenge different lines of tissue, and try not to fall in love with one single concept, even though, you know, do what you enjoy. Yes, absolutely. But move more.
Mix it up a wee bit. Yes, absolutely. Yes,
absolutely.
I absolutely agree. And because it is easy just to stick to the same thing over and over again, but if you're moving forward and you're getting older and you want to have that mobility there all the time, you've really got to move through all those different areas, which is fantastic.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, good. So we're happy to wrap that wee bit up there. That we know what mobility is. I'm happy.
Yes. Hopefully I didn't veer too far off track there. I kind of do.
No, I like the fact that you went back to thinking, right, why, what is our goal? What are we here to do? And we're here to move constantly, not to just sit about on our backsides all day doing nothing. And our goal as coaches is to get people to move. And we're trying to do that because we want people to have a better quality of life, and also to live longer and have a healthier, happier life, hopefully. So that's what we're hoping to do. And also for people who are some mummies maybe thinking that some people watching may be thinking, oh, well, I don't understand, how am I going to get to move? You know, what am I going to do? Well, you just start with the basics, really, don't you? You just start with the basics.
The easiest way to think of it is joints love circles. So just literally make circles with all of your joints. Like if we look at not so much here, but in, you know, some parts of Asia, where I would say they're probably the healthiest people in the world, most active, best diet, they'll get up for, I think it's Tai Chi. A lot of them practice. I know they do that in Japan anyway. And they do that right into their 90s. Like they have the highest life expectancy in the world. And I think there's a massive clue there, as in, oh, what do? They wake up every morning and they move.
Just move.
And then there's no, I don't think there's no word for retirement in Japanese. As in they don't perceive it the same way as we do. There may be a word for like, you know, finishing your career, but they don't actually see retirement as in, I finish work at 65 or 70, then I sit on my hole and do nothing all day. that's not the way they look at it. They don't see, and they live longer than anyone. So I'm just like, well, success leaves clues.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that they do? They move each day. They'll make circles with all their joints. They'll eat a lot of fresh fish, fruit, vegetables, seeds.
Yeah. Easy.
Easy.
Movement is life, as they say.
Movement is life.
Movement
Absolutely.
is life. Okay. So my next thing I want to talk about is mindset.
Okay.
Having a good mindset.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, we can combine those two things,
Okay.
right? Because obviously, so I'll give me for an example, right? I would say that I'm relatively successful in most areas of my life, right? And I'm not like fucking blowing smoke up my own arse or anything like that. That's not what I'm getting at, right? What I'm saying is, with my fitness, right? I'll do mobility work every day. I would say I'm relatively strong for my age. I look around at whenever we go to the kids, the kids' school stuff.
Yeah.
I look at all the dads and I'm like, oh, I'm doing all right, right? Oh. I look at all the dads and I'm like, winning, right? So to me, that's a success. I have a resting heart rate of 47 beats per minute. My blood pressure is 125/79. Again, everything completely normal, right? So for me, in terms of fitness, that's a success. And as I say, in terms of strength, I think I'm above average.
Yeah.
So even for my age, and I'm only 37, by the way. I'm making myself sound really old there.
I was just thinking there. Anyway, yeah, 37, only 37 years young.
Yeah. So then, in business, I would say I've been relatively successful. If you take into account that, the average business, I think it's like 90% of small businesses don't see past 5 years, some crazy statistic like that. And I actually own 3 businesses and have been an entrepreneur for the last 12 years. So to me, that's a success. Awesome. And then, I have a wife who supports me through all of that chaos, 3 beautiful children. And to me, again, that's a success, right? So the mindset that it takes to do just that, right? And the females on here, like yous are, I'm bumming and blowing about this, right? But at the end of the day, yous look after the kids and still manage all of that shit as well, right? I know. I'm not taking that away from us. I'm just giving sort of my perspective on it, right? So the mindset that takes as well is to gain, and I say relative success. Success is subjective, right? So what is successful to me versus what is successful to the next person? Success to the next person might just be here. I was able to get up out of bed today, right? And that's cool as well. That's just that. I'm just giving my definition of, whenever I feel successful, that's it. Okay. So sorry, just to clear that up, right? So, that takes a certain level of I would say a strong mentality, right? And a strong mindset, because those things don't really happen overnight. Your fitness doesn't happen overnight. Your business doesn't happen overnight. Your family is, you're building your family every single day, right? And my kids are torturing me right now. Okay. So, all your relationships, all of these things, they don't just happen overnight. There are things that have to be built upon constantly. And there is no hack to it. There is no shortcut. You just have to have, you just have to do the fucking work, right? Now the thing about it is as well is it let's say you were to let's say you were just to do hard work alone.
Yeah.
Right. I know how to get fitter. I'll just work harder. Right. I know how to get in better shape. I'll just work harder. I know how to like, repair a broken relationship. I'll just work harder. Or I know how to earn more money from my business. I'll just work harder. Right. But the reality is that hard work alone won't get you there.
No.
Right. Other ways, builders, bricklayers would be the richest people on earth, but they're not. Tech guys are. They're the richest, or Russian oil rig owners. They're the richest people on earth, and they're not the hardest workers on earth. So hard work alone isn't going to get you the success that you're looking for. No. Right? I actually watched this on Impact Theory a couple of weeks ago, and I found it really interesting. So it's actually only 25% of the equation.
Okay.
It's only 25% of the equation. Hard work, right? Okay. Diligence, 25%. The other 75%. Well, one of them is organization. It's 25%.
I'm screwed.
Right. Yeah. So if you think about it, and again, females like outshine men on this here front like 1,000,000 to 1. So it's like, you have to organize. If you want to do some more mobility with your days, you have to be organized with that. If you want to get the work on time, you want to get the kids ready, like whatever it is, it takes organization in your work, right? I'm sure a lot of your guys on here work for themselves as well. Yeah. So they have to be super organized. So hard work and organization, that's two parts of the equation, right? Then we've got perfectionism.
Right.
Okay. Perfectionism. Now I've told this here to other people, and you're the second person that's actually raised their eyebrow and going like, perfectionism. Okay. Explain yourself, right? So they and this is based on like a sort of scientific study, right? So they said that the people who were most successful in most things in life were able to double check their work, right? Okay. And so what I mean by that is they weren't content with I'll just do enough.
Okay.
Right. So for example, the people who have the most successful relationships didn't just, I'll just do this here for their birthday, or I'll just, say here, well done for doing that there to one of the kids. It's the people who were actually self-aware enough to say, oh no, I need to do more for this person. Okay. Right? Or I need to work harder, or not work harder. Yes, maybe I need to work harder at this relationship, but you're self-aware and you're able to double check. Maybe I'm not putting in the effort here. Yeah. Right. Or, the people who are most successful on the gym floor were able to double check their work, where they're like, could I have put in a wee bit more effort on the gym floor there?
Yeah.
Could I have performed better in that lunge? Could I have performed better in that squat? Right, I'm about to eat this meal. Do I really need to eat this much, or maybe can I just double check this just to see, and then maybe take this out, right? For example. So that in a way, it's perfectionism. You're kind of looking for, even though it's never going to be perfect, it's just nothing is, right? But the intent is to go, well, how can I still give it my best, and how can I make it as perfect as possible? And that's the difference. It's the people who are self-aware enough to look at it from the outside and go, maybe I could do this a little better in every area of life. So that's another 25%. It's perfectionism.
Yeah.
Right. And then the final 25% is prudence. Right. So it's your ability to make decisions, as in be decisive, but at the same time, balance it out with cautiousness. Right. And it's the ones who find the best balance in those are the ones that are again most successful. Because again, you'll see people just making irrational decisions, and then it's like, holy shit, that led them down complete wrong path. And then you'll see people who make no decisions whatsoever, and then the decision is just made for them, and at the same time it leads them down the wrong path. It could be in nutrition, it could be in your business, like whatever it is. But essentially success and having a successful mindset, as I would say, comes down to those 4 areas, and it's 25% of each. So hard work alone won't get you there. You might see, and again, how this plays out in, let's say, in our scenario is someone might be like, do you know what? I'll go to the gym. I'll go to Marlene's Zoom session or semi-private session, and I'll just fucking work hard in the gym. Right? I'll just really work hard. But then at the same time, their decision making is, well, at the weekend, I'm gonna eat fucking Chinese Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm gonna have 4 bottles of wine, and I'm gonna piss it all up the wall, right? So now we know that your hard work alone isn't going to get you there. Your decision making, that other little 25%, which you're fucking lacking in, is the thing that's actually mitigating your success. I went off on a tangent there as well, didn't I?
But bringing it back is as well across those 4 areas, you're not going to get them all right. The balance is all over the place. But bringing it to health and fitness and coming to my classes, it's fine to come in and really bust out a good session. But if you're not going to follow that through with the weekend, or controlling what you eat for the rest of the day, or doing those extra wee bits that go a long way and getting you on your journey, then the hard work in the gym just isn't good enough. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get success.
No, 100%. And we've probably seen this here over and over again. You've been coaching a long time. I know I have, and it's like the thing that for me at least changes everything is not just people making themselves accountable to you, but holding themselves accountable as well
to themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's keeping a promise to yourself. As in, like, if I want to achieve this outcome, and now you've got the knowledge to know that hard work alone just isn't going to get you there. There's everything else. So I have to make better decisions. I have to be aware of the work that I'm doing, and I have to hold myself to a higher standard. I have to keep promises to myself, and essentially for me, that's how you get the bigger and better outcomes in every area of life.
And at the start of all of that, when you want to look at building because you're almost building a healthier and better and stronger mindset. So at the start of all of that, you need to look and say, right, well, why am I doing this, and what is it that I really want out of it? Because a lot of people automatically go, I think I read something the other day saying that at one point, just in June, there's like 64% of UK adults wanted to just lose weight, right? So they were all in the fat loss journey, 64%. Right. So they've all just started and went, I want to lose weight, but why and how and how much and all the rest of it. So it's okay saying I want to lose a bit of weight, but you have to get into the why and what's your mindset and what are you prepared to do. And it's not just one thing, going to the gym or starting to walk or whatever. There's a whole list of stuff you really need to do, and you need to just build on that healthier mindset and make that happen. So that's a big thing for me as well, that I see people say, well, I want to lose a bit of weight. That's not enough to say that anymore. There needs to be more behind it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I personally just don't want to be a burden on anyone. Most of all, not my children. And I know for most people that's the big driver. At least it is for me in every area of my life. My fitness, my family, they're it. And in my business, we all basically we're driven by two things: survival and reproduction, and you look after your children in order to get them the best look after theirs, because you want your DNA to survive and thrive. That's what we're all, driven for, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
So for me, if that is my purpose in life, right? And then as I get older, I become a burden on them, as in like they have to look after me.
Yeah.
They have to, or I can't be active with them. I can't spend time with them. For me, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense at all. I'm here to help them thrive.
Yeah.
But now I'm becoming a burden on them with my health.
Yeah.
I don't know any greater motivator than that right there.
Yeah.
I really don't. And to me, like, I went in last week to get a tiny operation. It was purposely done. It was for no health reasons, by the way. It's purposely done. So I went in to get an operation. And they were doing basically health checks and stuff like this here. And the guy was like, before we went down the theater, I had to do like a check and start with a girl first of all. And she was like, heart conditions, previous medical history, there was a long fucking list of things. And I was loving it because she checked my heart rate, she checked my blood pressure, basically a full medical.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Is this wrong with you?" No.
You're not saying no. Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. And she was like, "Oh, okay, happy days." And then whenever we went down before we went into for the surgery, again there was a second medical check. The girl was there. Nope. And she's just like, "Oh, this is going to be an easy day." And then the more I thought about it, okay, there's things that are beyond our control, but then at the same time, there's things that we have full control over.
100%.
And I was kind of thinking, there's probably people come in here who have full control over the things that are wrong with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? Full control over it. And they're not only a burden on their family, but they're also a burden on the NHS or whatever medical thing you go to.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck, I'm so glad that that's not me. And I would always say to people, if you have control over what you put in your mouth. I don't care. You have control over your choices on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
You can make the choice whether or not you get up and you go for a walk, or you sit on your hole watching Netflix, eating bags of Doritos.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing that scares me that popped in when you said about a burden and getting older and having that mobility and health. A lot of my mummy has 6 brothers and sisters, right? So there's quite a lot of them. So they're all now into their 50s, 60s, and all of their health problems have all really surfaced when they hit into their 50s, which is very close for me. I'm 45. So you kind of think when you're younger, I can eat and do very little and get away with it. But if you're going to see these happen to you as close as 50, it comes around fast. And if you haven't looked after your body, I mean, I'm not the fittest person, I'm not the healthiest person. But when I see my mummy's side, every single person has a health issue. And I mean, a massive health issue when they're hitting their 50s. That scares the crap out of me. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to.
I mean, you're fucking. I have no idea you were fucking 45.
I have 5 years now to make sure.
Holy shit, Marlene.
You know what I mean? I'm getting to that stage now, and it's so close. And I just think if you're not going to move and you're not going to change your mind and thinking, right, this could hit me here 5 years, 10 years down the line, I could get something could happen to me, which is going to hinder my life in a massive way, then you're right. We have the control, and you really need to look after yourself 100%.
I'm still fucking shocked that you're 45.
Stop it. You're thinking right now, she should be smarter at 45.
No, I'm just thinking, fucking hell, Marlene, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that big thing. That's why I really wanted to talk about mobility and the mindset point as well, because as we get older, and I especially think of women all the time, and the women that I know, and how a lot of things could have been avoided if they had just looked after themselves a wee bit better, made better choices
Yeah,
along the line.
yeah, and I don't think it, like the day that I described earlier, you know, getting up, doing 5 minutes of movement, going for a long walk, moving about here and there, you know, sitting in a squat instead of sitting on the sofa. I don't think that's, and that will go a long way as well. And I don't think that's, for me at least, I don't think that's too much to ask
No,
of anyone.
those small things, because people think you've got to spend a lot of time doing these things. You know, you've got to have a whole routine, and you've got to get up in the morning and spend all this time, and you don't. It's just wee, easy, simple steps, but will
Yeah,
go a really long way.
they do, absolutely, 1,000,000%.
Great. I think we've covered loads today. We've talked for
Yeah.
I've learned a lot as always. I love talking to you. And I'm sure my mummies will really appreciate this. But so we're going to wrap it up. So thank you very much.
No worries, Marlene. Thank you for bringing me on. It was an absolute pleasure.
I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
No worries. Thank you.